Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Sacred Medicine Podcast, weaving powerful, soulful practices into functional medicine. Step into this beautiful space of devotion and explore everything from nurturing foods, rituals, sexuality, and awakening your innate sensuality. It is time to own your radiance. This is the Sacred Medicine Podcast. And it's another week at the Sacred Medicine Podcast. How's everyone doing today? I'm your host, Margaret Romero, and today we have a special guest, Dr. Eric Zielinski. He's an aromatherapist and a public health researcher, as well as a chiropractor. He's the author of The Healing Power of Essential Oils and the Essential Oils Diet. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I love essential oils. And so I was excited to have him on so we can chat all about it. So what you're going to learn in this episode is the top 5 essential oils to have at home. So in case you're new and you've thought about maybe using some essential oils at home, there's so many uses. I mean, I use them almost every day. If it's not in my cleaning product, it's going on my wrists, in the morning during my prayer sessions, or it's going on my face, a little bit on my face, like frankincense. So I use it just in so many different ways. Okay, so you're going to learn the top 5 essential oils to have at home. You're also going to learn about putting it in your cooking to start incorporating it in cooking. Now, we do talk also about what type of essential oils to buy, because not all essential oils are created equal, and you want to get one that's been thoroughly tested. So we also talk about how to pick a really pure essential oil that you can that's safe enough for you to cook with. And then we also talk about other ways to use essential oils, really cool ways. So you definitely don't want to miss this. And we also talk about using it to help with breast milk and cramps. So there's a wide range of things that we talk about. And also, he was in a documentary, which is on Netflix, called Unwell. So if you want to see him in action when he's at home, how he uses the essential oils at home, it's pretty cool to watch. I did watch it as well. All right, so without further ado, on to the show. All right, we are back for another week of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have Dr. Eric Zielinski with us, and we are talking all about essential oils. Dr. Zielinski, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
There's so much to talk about. I mean, essential oils, I've been using them in my life for over 15 years, and I just love them for so many reasons. So this topic is so huge, but let's just kind of, let's do a few things that I think my audience would enjoy. Why don't we start with maybe kind of give me like your best, 5 oils that people should have on hand at home that would be really essential, really useful.
Well, first of all, people need to understand that oils don't have to be so expensive. And that's one of the main concerns that we get when someone goes and they're trying to buy, let's say, frankincense. That's a real popular oil.
Yes.
Primarily because of marketing. We can actually flesh that out a little bit if we got a minute there. But why is frankincense like the king of essential oils? Well, there's a history behind that. There's a reason. And it's very intentional, in a good way, but there's because of marketers marketing a product that is effective, but also is very profitable. And so you can get a bottle of frankincense at some, suppliers, especially your favorite network marketing companies, for like 50, 60, 70, $80 for a bottle. It's a lot of money for a lot of people, especially today. I mean, maybe 2 years ago, when we were in like the heyday of everyone spending money because everyone's making money, but now it's a little bit different, and I understand that. And I want to respect the fact that we're on a different budget now than maybe we were a couple years ago.
Totally, yeah.
So when I answer this question, I'm thinking about money. I am. And so orange oil is one of the first ones that comes to mind because it's arguably the most, I don't say cheapest, I hate the word cheap, but it's the most cost-effective oil you can arguably get. And it has some of the most diverse properties of any oil on the planet. It's wonderful. It's safe to ingest. It's safe to apply topically. There's very little concern for photosensitivity if you dilute it properly, but still you always got to be careful about putting citrus oils and going out into the sun because you actually have, a photo reaction to it. Rich in D-limonene, which is a extremely potent anti-inflammatory and cancer fighting chemical in the essential oil itself. And the mood boosting properties of orange oil are second to none. I talk about it extensively in my first book and also in our next book coming out, the antidepressive properties, the serotonin boosting properties of inhaling citrus oils like orange can literally be life-changing for people. And it has been. Researchers have shown. And so orange oil and also all the citrus oils. Lemon oil is another good one. Lemon oil, a lot of the same properties. When you think about cleaning, and this is where I like essential oils over herbs, for example. My mother-in-law is an herbalist, and we have close friends who are herbalists. The one thing I like about essential oils is because they're basically the concentrated form of herbs, but they help so much in so many ways. Like you can add essential oils to your homemade cleaning products to give it that oxy boost kind of punch, right? And so when you look at Goo Gone, who doesn't have Goo Gone in their home? Well, that's citrus based, right? That's orange based, but also lemon oil helps exceptionally well for fungus on the shower curtains and cleaning your countertops. It has this wonderful aromatic experience. It's very uplifting. Again, safe to ingest. Like who doesn't like lemonade? Add a drop of lemon in that, that kind of thing. We'll talk, I'm sure, about cooking. Also in that vein about cooking and multi-purpose is peppermint. Peppermint is invigorating. Research has shown that it actually helps people breathe better, increases athletic performance, VO2 max, which it's like having a shot of espresso by even ingesting a drop properly or inhaling it or applying it topically. And it's very, very medicinal in that it could help with the stomach and help with nausea. Personally, my morning routine begins with some homemade matcha latte. I love matcha green tea. I'll add a drop or two of peppermint and a drop or two of cinnamon bark. And that's how I begin my day. And I love that. And I love the cinnamon bark. That's another one because it's extremely antimicrobial, antifungal, antiviral. And it also has wonderful blood glucose balancing properties to it. So who couldn't benefit from that? And one of the things that the last year has really created awareness for, especially in the context of the pandemic, are the people that have chronic disease, namely obesity and diabetes. They're at like an infinite more risk of mortality and infection because of their comorbidity. And so we really have to lose weight. I mean, there's just no other way as a society, and we need to balance the blood sugar. And so that's one thing I like about cinnamon. Again, it's a culinary oil. You can include it in a variety of different dishes, cinnamon bark specifically. And let's say another one, got to go with lavender because of, the other oils I was talking about. You can mix all of them, actually. Mixing orange and peppermint and clove, for example, or orange and peppermint and cinnamon has this wonderful, invigorating, like morning get up and go boost. But if you want to chill out, stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest and that calm and just let you just kind of decompress at night, nothing works like lavender. And it's so safe in so many ways, whether it's a lavender bath or a salve. Again, you can ingest lavender. I mean, a lot of these oils you can ingest, y'all, and it's about doing it properly, but it enhances so much in your life. So those would be the 5, and all of those you should be able to find all of those for under $25 at the most a bottle. And some of them you can get for $5 or $10 a bottle. And I share that because we want to make these sustainable for our budget and also for the environment.
Right. Yeah. If people try to find essential oils out there, I mean, it's hard to know who's good, which one doesn't have chemicals in it and whatnot. How do you recommend that they kind of know which ones to choose?
Yeah, it's a good question. The long answer is I really encourage folks to pick up my book, The Healing Power of Essential Oils. I have a large section in the book about that because we are a brand agnostic. And like we were talking about before the show here, we are limited by the Food and Drug Administration by what we say if we sell a product, which, I can understand. There's an inherent financial bias, which means your Young Living, your doTERRA representative, whoever else, those are the top two in the world, right? Those folks cannot legally talk about anything related to a disease, even if it's their own disease. Right. So they can't say, I use peppermint to help with asthma. They can't say it. They have to say, I use peppermint to help with a respiratory support, whatever that means. So long and the short of it is my wife and I decided early on, we're going to be brand agnostic because I'm a researcher. Like that's my training. I'm a published researcher, and I dive into the research and I just simply report what the scientists have found. And so with that said, because of that, we don't recommend a company, and that gives us the freedom. And also we want to support everyone in the essential oil industry. But I'll give you a tip. Two things when it comes to it. Transparency is key. And I know transparency right now has almost become cliche, right? I remember 2 years ago during the Super Bowl when Budweiser came out with this commercial, like out of nowhere, right? Talking about, hey, you know what's in our beer? These 3 ingredients, hops, whatever, I forget what they are, but still, they were the first ones. And think about that. All these years of people drinking beer, no one knew what was in the beer. There was never a nutritional label on it. There was never an ingredient list. Well, Budweiser said, hey, guess what? We're going to be the first ones. And guess what we don't have? Corn syrup or whatever it was. And then they started talking about how Miller and the other ones did. Again, I don't drink beer, but I thought it was profound. I was like, what a marketing experiment during the Super Bowl. Why am I saying that? Because the best essential oil companies have had nothing to hide or transparent with what's in the oil. And how do they do that? Through a GCMS, a gas chromatography mass spectrometry report. Fancy word for saying it's basically the blood panel of the essential oil. Put this into perspective. Let's say you are concerned that you have a risk of heart disease. So you go to your Ready Lab next door place, you get a blood drawn, and you say, hey, give me a heart disease risk factor report. They'll take the blood draw, send it to the lab, you get a report within a week or so, and the report essentially tells you within normal limits, not within normal limits, and it'll give you an executive summary, right?
Right.
Not that you are a cardiologist, not that you are expected to understand the details of all the different measures, but they will tell you what you need to know. That's what a GCMS is. It measures what's in the oil, and then it says this is adulterated, it's not, there's contaminants, there aren't, there are pesticides, there aren't, it's good, it's bad. Basically, that's what it says. Mm-hmm. And companies spend millions of dollars a year on their own dime to have their oils tested to make sure they go on the market, the good companies. And those that do, they get those reports and they put it on the website. So if you want to buy orange from a company, you should be able to go to the website, click on orange, learn about orange, and then hopefully you'll see a link. And if not, you should ask the company, email them, contact them via chat and say, hey, do you have a batch report? I'd like to see your orange, for example. That's the number one way. And by virtue of the company offering that report, that tells me that there's nothing to hide. At least that's a good start, right? And then there are other things. The bottom line too is purity. This is so important. Again, I cover this in my book a lot because people really need to realize purity does not guarantee safety. Purity does not guarantee efficacy. All right? Purity means there's nothing bad in it. It's just pure essential oils. You could still misuse it. You could still hurt yourself. You could still be allergic to them, right? Purity doesn't guarantee safety. It guarantees it's pure. If anything, the more pure, if there's such a thing, but the purer, the less contaminated something is, the more potentially dangerous it could be because it's more potent, right? Which means you got to dilute it. You got to treat it properly. Right. Same thing with efficacy. Just because something is pure and unadulterated doesn't mean it's going to work the way you want it to work. That's where in my book I talk about this notion, this concept of aromatherapy called the organoleptic evaluation. How do you perceive, feel the essential oil? Taste, touch, smell, all the experiences. What does it do? Because for someone that has a biochemical interaction with an essential oil, it could produce a desired result or a not desired result. And people, we need to recognize, I mean, we're basically biochemistry labs on the move, on the go, changing every second, constantly for what we eat, what we drink, what we breathe, our thoughts, the chemicals in our body, the natural, the fake chemicals from the drugs and the potions and the lotions we put on our skin. We're a science lab. So when you incorporate something like an essential oil, same with your supplements, same with your antibiotics, same with your pharmaceuticals, you need to see if there's any adverse reaction. That's why your doctor, she will practice medicine with you. She can't guarantee that XYZ drug is going to work. There's no guarantee that the chemo is going to kill the cancer. They can only see, how does your body respond? Same thing like oils. So essentially what we recommend is you do a little research. I love getting referrals, by the way. Nothing like going to a trusted friend. Seriously, like, hey, we love you. We trust you. What do you do? And we always go to referrals for everything. So get a referral, do a little research, find a company that offers a batch specific report, look at make sure there's no junk in it, and test it out. So pay 30, 40 bucks at the most, 25, 30, 40 bucks, get a little starter kit. Typical companies will give you 3 or 4 oils to try out and sample them. Like literally open up the bottle and smell it. Just first thing. Right. How does it make you feel? We're looking for no response is a good response, by the way. We're particularly looking for adverse reactions, like a headache. We could dive deep, and this might actually be better for a follow-up, because in my next book, I cover a lot about addiction and mental health disorders, and how essential oils can actually trigger PTSD because of the olfactory smell stimulating the limbic system, which is your memory, your mood, your emotions. Right. And so you smell an oil, does it give you like this weird feeling? Like, does it make you anxious? Does it make you stressed? That's real. Or does it give you euphoria? Does it give you a piece of calm? Or nothing, right? No response is a good response when it comes to testing an intervention. Also, you could do a skin patch test. You get a little oil. Again, all this is in my book, folks, so I don't need to worry about writing a lot of notes and stuff here, but it's a lot. If you really want to start treating and preventing illness and helping your family live an abundant life, this takes a little bit of time and practice. So you get a little bit of carrier oil, like an olive oil or coconut oil, in your hand. You put a drop of the oil, let's say lavender. You mix it, and then you put you put it on the back of your palm, or put it on the top of your knee, or somewhere where just test, see how it reacts to your skin. And we're looking for bumps, we're looking for rashes, we're looking for any adverse reaction. Again, no reaction is a good reaction. And then if you're interested in ingesting oil, simply put, you could get a little teaspoon of honey, put a drop of lemon in it, mix it up and have it. No reaction is a good reaction. So we walk people through this organoleptic evaluation, testing the oil. And then as long as the oils work, have fun, right? And so it's a really fun experience, and you get really good at it. You get really quick at it. And also, I'll end with this. I can't discount intuition. It's so important when it comes to a lot of what we do. And ultimately, we have to listen to our gut, because our gut knows.
Right. Absolutely. Well, speaking about putting it in honey, how can we use it, or how have you used it in maybe cooking, when you're cooking every day?
Yeah. Well, first, never, ever, 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 ever just drop oils in your mouth or drop oils in your water. Unless you know exactly what you're doing and you are being very, very, very careful, especially under the guidance of a healthcare professional, because you could burn your mouth, burn the mucous membranes. There's a lot of problems you can cause. Mm-hmm. And so the problem that I see online a lot is, just put a drop in your water. Like, just think about that for a minute. Water and oils don't mix. So the oil is going to go, the essential oil is going to suspend on top. And I don't care how much you mix it with a spoon or a straw or whatever, it's still going to suspend on top. So ultimately, when you put the glass to your lips, the first thing that's going to touch your lips are the oil. And that could hurt. And I've done that. And you swallow oregano and tea tree, which is a very common, quote, flu remedy that people do in the aromatherapy space or the essential oil space. Like that could cause reflux. That could burn your esophagus. So I want to caution people from doing that. So I say that to say, the best, the safest, the most effective, and the most fun is to incorporate in your food, culinary purposes. Now, I will say, though, if you do want to go use, let's say you're trying to balance blood sugar, like I talk about in my next book, 3 drops or 4 drops of cinnamon bark in a gel capsule filled with olive oil, then you take it like a pill, like your metformin, well, that's different. Like that's actually medicinal purposes. But what we're talking about, most people use essential oils culinarily speaking. And just for the people that say you should never ingest them, well, I get that a lot. And that's probably my number one criticism online from my colleagues in the aromatherapy space. My answer is always the same, and there's no really good reaction, or there's no good response to it, because it's the truth. What do you think flavors your Coca-Cola? What do you think flavors your peppermint mint patty and your lemon bars and anything that has any sort of flavor in it that's a packaged food? It's either a synthetic version of an essential oil or an actual essential oil. And you look up in the FDA website, a natural flavoring, that's essential oil based. Unnatural flavoring, that's fake essential oils, synthetic. So I just want to point out there, it's all about the dose. It's all about the dose. Again, wintergreen, everyone freaks out. You should never, ever, ever ingest wintergreen. Well, what do you think's in your root beer? Again, microdoses. So the problem is when people just use oils willy-nilly. So I share that to say safe, responsible use means you always use a fatty substance to dilute the essential oil. So, for example, going back to my matcha green tea latte that I drink every day, I use coconut milk as the fatty liquid in it. And then I have the coconut milk, which is fatty, mixed with the essential oil, and then I put the hot water, and then I use the matcha, then I buzz it all up with a little bit of liquid stevia extract, which also helps emulsify. And that is, now it's dispersed properly.
Right.
Now it's diluted. I could drink that, and I can have 2-3 drops, and it's fine. Right? So that's the same thing with your guacamole. Avocados, extremely wonderful fatty substance. You've never had guacamole unless you've had it with a drop of lime and a drop of cilantro. It's heavenly. Same thing with your pumpkin pie, and you add a drop of cinnamon or clove, and the same thing with your whatever. And so when you look at the culinary use of essential oil, my wife essentially came up with the formula, the ratio. It's like when a recipe calls for, let's say, a teaspoon of an herb, a spice, or a zest, then you just use a drop or two, like most at two drops. So again, your lemon bars calls for 2, like let's say 2 teaspoons of lemon zest. Well, you could replace that with 4 drops of lemon essential oil. Now, what we found was the problem that I have with herbs, not problem per se, but herbs lack the oil because they've been dehydrated. So what we like to do is we like to actually add. So if a recipe calls for a teaspoon of cilantro, we'll still use it, but then we'll add a drop of cilantro. And it just makes it just rounds it all out. It's getting as close to nature as possible, because ultimately, unless you have fresh cilantro on hand, which is preferred, but still even then, even add a drop. Be careful, because it can get really powerful if you're using fresh. So especially if you really rely on dried herbs and spices, you really need to add oil back to reconstitute that flavor, because the dried herbs are much more subdued, I guess, the flavor.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so again, the sky's the limit. Whether you're making herbal tea, like Roman chamomile, you could put a drop of Roman chamomile and a little bit of honey, and then mix it with your chamomile tea at night. Like, again, the sky is the limit, and it's just a matter of you finding what works for you. But I'm telling you, a drop or 2 goes a long way. That's why when you're spending $20 on a bottle, that's upwards to 300 drops, depending on the bottle that you get. That's a lot of drops. Like that could be 3 months worth of an oil, right? So anyway, What we do at my website, in my books, is we show people like, hey, here's how you incorporate oils throughout your daily life. Your cleaning, your cooking, your body care, aromatherapy, just, you want typical, aromatic experience by diffusing them, all that fun stuff, right? The sky's the limit. And we are trying to, at the end of the day, we're trying to help people realize that you can live a toxic-free life by kicking out the aerosols and the hand sanitizers and the things that we know have been linked to disease. And you could do it yourself, one by one by one, and enhance your experience with really the healing power of essential oils.
Yes, absolutely. Going back to the cooking part, I made the mistake once, many, many years ago, while I was making a tomato sauce with a bolognese sauce, is that I, rather than putting 1 drop of oregano, 3 came out, and it like ruined the whole thing.
Who would have thought? Seriously, 3 drops. Right?
So potent. So if you're listening out there, 1 drop may be enough. I would do 1, stir it around, try it before adding in another drop.
Yep.
It really is.
That's the thing. You build up 1 drop, and think in context, y'all. When you look at, again, I don't know oregano. I know oregano is more of a drier herb, but I know for lavender, for example, we're talking 3 to 5 pounds of lavender flowers. Like, just, it's hard to conceptualize. Like, go to the garden, pick up a lavender blossom, like weigh it. Now get 3 to 5 pounds of that. That's how much you have to distill to get 1 itty bitty bottle of lavender.
Wow.
It's a lot of plant matter. So this, just conceptualize how concentrated these are. And so it really puts things into perspective. Like, 1 drop, same thing with your body care. And 1 drop goes a long way, you know?
Yes, absolutely. All right. So just want to switch topics a little bit because this interests me a lot due to me having, we all have electronics in our home. I turn off my Wi-Fi at night. But just, we have electronics on all the time. And so just curious about your thoughts about EMF. And I know that you use some essential oils. So just curious about that.
Yeah. The thing is, the problem that we live in, and I was actually just having a conversation with a friend of mine about this. I'm old enough to remember what life was like without the internet. I'm only 40, but we didn't have internet in my home until I was like 18 or 19 years old in college. And I remember what that was like. And I remember how much my life changed once I got my first smartphone. And then I realized how irrevocably altered our society is because of the digitization of everything. And now when you add the pandemic to this scenario where most people are working, or we're working from home, it's impossible to escape EMFs. And one thing I recognize is there is no research about long-term effects of any of this stuff, which means we're literally science experiments. Global science experiments right now.
Right.
We don't know what's going to happen to an infant, or we don't know what's going to happen to a human being when they're exposed to high levels of EMFs from birth after 80, 90 years. There's no research on that at all. And there are a lot of scientists that are concerned, especially with the higher versions, with the higher frequencies and the different types. And what I've learned is there's very few ways that can actually stop it. Like, how do you create a force field around your home? There's one technology called the Key technology, QI technology, that my friend Paul Bertello, he didn't invent. There was actually an inventor from Germany. A fascinating concept. But they've done research. Like, they've actually done in vitro research on cells, EMFs, and they've shown that this technology actually can help mitigate, like reduce the frequency in a home beyond my understanding. I'm not an EMF expert. But what I do understand, and I think a lot of us can understand this, is what we have seen is electromagnetic frequency has a direct free radical effect on the body, meaning essentially EMFs are interpreted by the body like a toxin is, in a similar way as mercury or asbestos or something extremely harmful. And so what the solution is for us is to reduce as much as possible. And there are a lot of little ways, like turning off your phone at night, turning off your router, having your phone on airplane mode as much as possible. Never, ever, 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 please use Bluetooth like earphones. It's like the worst thing I think you can ever do. And people don't recognize that you're basically creating a high-powered battery between your head and your brain, between those things. So I get it. I'm sorry, Bose is going to sue me for saying this, but that stuff should be outlawed. So for us, I'm always corded. Even now, I'm corded, and as much as I don't like being connected as much as I am, I'm always using a cord, meaning I'm never doing wireless in that sense, if that makes sense, right? So always stay away from Bluetooth technology. Apple, they're going to sue me too, because they're whatever. My daughter and she's 12 years old, and I keep on telling her, honey, I actually talked to her, like, honey, research has shown that people who use these, not the pods, not the AirPods, but people that use Bluetooth, they develop cancer in their brain. And I don't want you to get cancer, honey. And I'm like, again, I have a preteen right now, so we're going back and forth. Oh, I want my iPod. No, you're not going to get them. You're not going to get them. So anyway, these are little things. Now, when it comes to the inevitable, which is inevitable, I mean, especially with these high-powered towers all over now, right? They're getting ready. I am focused on the antioxidant effect of reducing and healing the cellular damage that is caused by EMFs. Now, this is a fact, and I've gotten criticized heavily for even making this statement, but I challenge anyone to do any preliminary research at all, and they'll see EMFs cause cellular damage, free radical oxidative damage. We need antioxidants. Just as simple as people understand you need vitamin C to help fight a virus. You need antioxidants to fight EMFs. And why are we talking about this? Well, the healing power of essential oils. Essential oils are some of the most concentrated antioxidants on the planet. And that's why we like to incorporate essential oils throughout our day. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm, again, ingesting 5 drops of orange every day to protect me from EMFs. No. But what that does mean is, like I mentioned before, I got a couple drops in my latte. I got a drop in my guacamole. I'm putting a little bit into my body care. I'm diffusing it as we speak. Like, our life, we've flipped it upside down. I no longer use those toxic colognes, and my wife doesn't use toxic perfumes. We use essential oils. Like, everything that has a smell in your house, if it's not natural, it's toxic.
Right.
It's toxic. It creates that oxidative stress in your body. It's a free radical in your body. And that's dangerous. Linked, no joke, linked, these artificial fragrances, linked to Alzheimer's, cancer, dementia, autoimmune disorders, and of course, allergies, right? Of course, respiratory issues. Like, who's not talking about respiratory concerns right now? It's been the concern of the world for last year. And no one's talking about kicking out your aerosols. No one's talking about getting an air purifier.
I know. It's insane.
What? I mean, hey, a shameless plug. Without my Air Doctor, I don't know what we'd do. I mean, I love this product. The Air Doctor, it's the best, most affordable home portable air purification system you could get. We have 5 of them. I mean, we have one. I mean, we have a basement and an upstairs and a main level. We have one in each level of the house. It's like, without an air purifier, without throwing away those fake fragrances and artificial, all that stuff, and replacing it, especially your laundry. So my wife and I really have systematically spent years just kicking out the toxins and replacing it with good stuff. A lot we make our own, but again, we have 5 kids. We don't have all the time in the world, so we buy some things too. So why am I talking about this about EMFs? Because it's the same thing. It's the same concept, and I hope people understand. Like, you can't see a fragrance, you can smell it, but you can't see EMFs. There's a direct cellular effect on your body, a damaging effect. So I have this book, it's an ebook. It's fun. People can download it for free. But I talk about how, some of the most potent essential oils that are some of the most antioxidant potent. And it goes back to the orange and citrus. It goes back to the clove, the ones I mentioned earlier. Clove, actually, I've seen some research suggest that clove has, I forget what it was, like 1 million ORAC points. Like, ORAC is the scale of antioxidants. Like, to put in
Wow.
Again, don't quote me on this. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but blueberries, it's like 100 times the antioxidant value of blueberries, just from like a drop of clove. It's that concentrated. It's that potent. So all that is cool, but there's one research study, only one, but there's one research study that kind of ties it all together. It's about fennel. And fennel oil is a wonderful traditional women's health oil. Wonderful traditional women's health oil. My wife uses it predominantly for breast milk production and to help. I mean, it's wonderful for labor pains and cramps and all kinds of stuff. Well, research has shown, again, animal studies, not human, but research has shown that fennel oil helps reverse the damage associated, the reproductive damage, the reproductive organs. Just think about this for a minute. Reproductive organs. How many people are struggling with infertility right now? How many more people, let me clarify, how many more people are struggling with infertility today than 50 years ago? They're finding that fennel oil helps reverse the damage of the reproductive organs that are associated with EMF. So EMFs directly can damage reproductive organs, and applying fennel oil can help. I'm not making any other claims other than what the research shared. And so what does that look like? I'm not making, hey, you try it. But I'll tell you, if you're in a position where, you're trying to get pregnant, well, maybe look at the EMF problem in your home and just try doing things like turning off the router at night in airplane mode. Try getting a 2% dilution of fennel and applying it over your abdomen or your reproductive organs. What's a 2% dilution? Well, 1 ounce of a carrier oil and 12 drops of fennel. So again, quick math. Again, I have all the charts in my book, folks, The Healing Power of Essential Oils. All the charts are in here. But 1 ounce, liquid ounce has 600 drops. 2% of 600 is 12, right? So if you want a 2% dilution, which is the typical safe topical dilution for all your body care for adults, that's 12 drops of essential oil added with 1 ounce of carrier, which can be olive oil, coconut oil, jojoba, sweet almond. But I would just say try. And not that I'm making any claims, but I'm telling you something. Things happen when we give the body a chance to reset. And I hope I can get on the show again to talk about the harmonization effects of essential oils and what we cover in my new book, because I want to debunk one myth. And I want to be careful because I don't want it to seem like I'm talking on the other side of my mouth. Essential oils work because they help your body heal itself. That's the key to essential oils. Yeah. It's not like I'm using fennel oil to treat reproductive damage. No, I'm using fennel oil to support my body so my body can get to a situation where my body heals itself. It's a concept known as vitalism. It's actually in the research. It's in PubMed, all over PubMed. The harmonization, the self-healing mechanism. So what we need to do is we need to do our best to stop the assault. We need to do the best to stop the assault. And then the body regulates. It's wonderfully profound. And ultimately, we find when it comes to interventions, oftentimes less is more.
Absolutely. Especially now, more and more people are home. They're sitting in front of their computer all day, 8 hours. That's a lot of EMF.
And the damage to the pineal gland, the blue light. If you don't, please, what's it called? Oh, man, what's it called on your iPhone? I have an iPhone. Okay, I'm on Mac too, so let me go. It's called F.Lux. Download the F.Lux app, because what happens is right around sunset, my screen slightly turns orange. And then towards the night, it gets oranger, meaning blue light is the light emitted by the sun. And we need blue light. It's energizing, like it wakes us up in the morning, but we do not want blue light at midnight. We want, like our ancestors enjoyed, orangish light from like candles and fire. And that's why people that live in areas like Alaska have so many, they struggle with their 23 hours of dark and then 23 hours of light. It's just, it's not how we were designed.
It's tough. Yeah.
It is. And so F.Lux, and also, I forget what it's called on my iPhone. You might know, but it's the,
I don't.
Let me go find it quick. It's I'm on my iPhone now.
I have the blue light glasses.
Those help too. Yep, those help too. And I actually have it set up on my phone. So my phone, when you go to display and brightness, so if I'm on my iPhone again, I go to settings, I go to the display and brightness. It's called night shift. So you go turn on night shift, and I have it set up from sunset to sunrise, which means from sunset to sunrise, my screen gets gradually more orange. And then again, it gets as orange as it gets orange at the darkest of the time, and then it gets slightly less, or again, just like the sun. And so you'll notice a difference. Like, you should never, ever, 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 ever have your iPhone on straight up blue light, normal brightness, shining bright on your eyes at midnight. That will directly damage your brain. It will hurt.
Oh, I see this now. Yeah. I love that.
Your brain. Yes.
Oh,
so I have it on my computer. I have it on this, and also some people do. Personally, I'm not against the glasses. I think they're helpful. Yet for me, I already have it on my computer. I have it on all my screens. I have it on, but it also could help to wear the glasses too if you want extra protection. But either way, knowing that what we have set up in our society is not conducive to proper healthy living. And I just heard a statistic recently, and it's worse now, right? With mandated shelter in place and stay at home orders, it's worse now. But the last statistic I heard was that 90+% of our time, I believe, was it 90%? It's close, like 85 or 90% of all of our waking hours are spent indoors. I mean, just chew on that for a minute. Like 90%, that's accurate, if not more now.
Yes.
Like, that was not the case 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. We're not made. I don't believe we were created by God to be living in these boxes all the time, like without sun, without fresh air, without anything. And that puts us at a direct disadvantage. Immune function dampening puts us at a disadvantage of not adapting to our environment. That's why so many people have so many allergies, because they're not exposing themselves. Like, I hate to say it, but we need to be exposed to pathogens to develop immunity to it. Like, that's the concept of a vaccine, right? People get vaccinated all the time to get micro doses of something so they won't get sicker. Well, the same thing with going outside. So when everyone was freaked out about the pandemic, I'm like, well, no, I really want to get exposed to this thing naturally. I'd much rather be exposed to this naturally when I'm strong and healthy than through some science experiment through a vial. Personally, I want my body to adapt to it naturally. And we got it. And we adapted to it. And by God's grace, we were fine. And my kids, they had a sniffle. And I was like, okay, we're good. My wife and I, it was a little harder. But we got through it. Same thing with your allergies. Same thing with the mold outside because it's raining. Like in Georgia, we have had more rain in Atlanta than Seattle this last year. That's a lot of rain. And it's like you could smell the mold by just walking outside. You have to adapt to that. Like, it caused me a little runny nose and a couple sneezes. And like, yeah, we're all allergic to mold, but I had to adapt to it. So again, we have been gifted with such a wonderful immune system, and it's just about allowing our bodies to interact. And so the more we could spend outside, the better. And why are we talking about this with essential oils? Well, it's the lifestyle. And I'll share with this. In my next book, I talk about this practice called forest bathing. It's profound what the Japanese culture has developed over the years. It's Japanese about just being outside and not doing anything. Like, we're not talking activity-wise. We're just talking being. And when you're in a forest and you're inhaling the volatile organic compounds, aka the essential oils, being emitted from the plants, that's exactly what it is. When you walk into a forest and you smell stuff, that stuff are the oils being emitted. The cypress, the birch, the oak, whatever.
Right.
And these tree oils are so medicinal. They actually stimulate natural killer cells in your body. They help your body fight disease. They boost your immune system. And so the next best thing, quite frankly, are being in our little box at home and putting on a diffuser. But it's not the best. I mean, I think it's important to point out essential oils are the second best. The best thing is to be out. If you could spend all day and do all your work in a rose garden, you'd be much better off just by smelling the roses all day long. If you can't, well, you know what? Put a drop of rose in your diffuser. It's not, and you know what research actually showed? The effect of the oil in the diffuser is not as profound as being out in nature. Wow.
Yeah, I bet.
Can't mimic God's creation. I believe it with all my heart. I've seen it over and over again. And that, by the way, my friend, is what medicine is. And people need to recognize that medicine and doctors and pharmacists and drug companies don't invent pharmaceuticals in a vacuum. They don't invent chemical structures. They base them off of what they see in nature time and time and time again. It's not like a doctor says, hey, let's go put this hydrogen next to this carbon, next to this, and whatever, and let's create a drug. No, it's like, let's go to willow, right? Let's go to the willow bark that people have been using for years and years and years for pain. Well, let's extract that. Let's figure out what's in it. And let's make our own version, put a shiny white coating, and call it aspirin. It's exactly what aspirin is. That's how they did it. And that's how they do chemotherapy. That's how they do diabetes and drug medication. And now at this point, they have so many things that they could start, inventing. But from the advent of medicine, everything was based off of what you see in nature. But it's a knockoff. Knockoffs never work as good as the original deal.
Right. Oh my gosh, this has been so your wisdom. It's amazing. The essential oils. I mean, I've been a lover of essential oils. You didn't have to convince me of any of this stuff. And I do use it on a daily basis, but I definitely learned some things today for sure. And how can people find you?
My website is naturallivingfamily.com. And yeah, thanks so much for having me. And I really, if this has much inspired people, I encourage people to pick up my book, The Healing Power of Essential Oils, available everywhere books are sold. Amazon especially has it on a great discount right now, The Healing Power of Essential Oils. And keep your eyes open. September of 2021, this year, we're going to be coming out with our new book, The Essential Oils Apothecary. And it's basically part 2. Like, this first book is aromatherapy 101, and we cover a lot of stuff. In the next book, we go deep. We go deep into disease. And
love
we cover
it.
So
I can't wait for that. Well, I'll definitely have you back on and we can talk more about that. That would be probably in the summer. I think
cool.
That would be a good time. Yeah.
Well, hey, and listeners, please leave some questions. Let us know what you want us to talk about next. This is it's a wonderful back and forth. I'll tell you, I've learned so much from the questions that I've been asked because I've been challenged to do more research and things. So please, let's keep the dialogue open. Again, thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. It was such a great interview. Thanks so much for being here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope you were able to learn so many different ways to use essential oils in your home and to learn more about him. Everything is going to be in the show notes. And I'm not sure if we even mentioned this, but he does have a podcast. So I'm going to leave that in the show notes as well. And to access that, head on over to margaretromero.com/episode 164. If you've been enjoying these podcast sessions, I would love it if you can head over to iTunes, leave a review. It would be so amazing. And if you don't know, and if you're not following me on Instagram, I am there every single day. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you are healthy and happy, and I will speak to you all next week. Bye for now.